Early morning at the station. The oncoming summer day is already adding a warmth to the open-plan station. The glass door offers a pleasant heat against my palm. My body still chilled from lack of sleep and the events of last night. I brace against the scent of old coffee and stale ink while heading towards the front desk where Douglas is hidden behind his long blonde bangs and his phone screen. Hard at work as usual, eh, kid? I lean an arm against the desk to stare at his phone screen. It's a blast of bright colors and pixelated figures. Douglas lets out a small shriek but manages to grip his phone as though his life depends on it. Detective! He calls before grabbing the desk to steady himself. He takes a breath. You scared me. That's generally what happens when you're not paying attention. He brushes back his hair. Right. I make to move away. Let me know if any messages come through. I don't hold out much hope of that as the blooping and bleeping starts up again. Further into the station, just before I reach my office, I spot movement over by the doors to the basement. Verda stands at the doorway, checking over an electronic tablet with a small frown and a wave of uncertainty washing. Oh, and a small. Wait, what? Verda stands at the doorway, checking over an electronic tablet with a small frown, and a wave of uncertainty washes over me to see him there. We haven't talked at all since he left for a break after he found out about all of this. I didn't even know he was back. The usual warmth to his brown skin has dulled, and the screen's light accentuates the dark shadows beneath his eyes. He certainly doesn't seem the confident, assured man I've grown used to seeing over all this time. I make my way over to him after placing my things by my office door. Verda glances up from the table to me as I approach. From the tablet to me as I approach, but his gaze wavers away again straight after.
Hello, Detective.
Even his greeting is strange. Hmm. I'm glad you came back. A smile catches me to see him back in the station, even if not his usual self. He gives a weak nod.
You have Eric to thank for that.
Does he?
No,
He replies, meeting my eyes for half a second before dropping them back down.
I didn't tell him anything, but he was keen to get the girls back after so long away from home.
My smile begins to fade. I see. An awkwardness invades the quiet between us. Like an unknown enemy, I want to beat back, but I'm not sure how. Especially when I'm not sure if I still have Verda as an ally beside me. He doesn't continue the conversation, only rolls his shoulders forwards to hunch over his screen once again, eyeing the escape of the doors beside him. I turn my back to the rest of the station so as not to be overheard. Though I'm not sure who I think might overhear when there's no one around except Douglas, who is far more enamored with his phone than anything else in the world. Then, I finally ask the question I've been desperate to ask since he left. How are you feeling about it all? I obviously don't need to explain what it is, as his whole body crumbles at the question. He shifts the tablet slowly in his hands before moving it down to sit flat against him like a shield. Taking a long breath, he finally meets my eyes for more than a second.
Honestly,
He asks. I nod.
I have no idea.
He contracts further into himself, white lab coat almost skimming the floor as his body folds in.
It still feels like a story or a dream, not reality.
Hmm. Hmm. These are very similar. But this is less accusatory. This feels more like, come on, dude, get over it. This is more like, you know, the same thing but framed nicer. You may not want to believe it, but that doesn't stop it from being the truth, I reply.
I'm well aware of that, Detective.
His words snap out of him and make me flinch. He gives a sigh of apology.
Having your reality shattered and needing to form a new one takes time.
I know. I stiffen at his statement, unsure if I've even managed to accomplish that myself yet. But this reality doesn't have to be worse, Verda, only different.
I haven't decided if that's possible yet.
He tightens his grip on the tablet before leaning closer, desperation now flashing in his eyes.
Don't you understand? I have a family, Jules. People I love. People I want to keep safe.
He catches himself to regain his composure.
How can I do that knowing what lurks out there?
I knot my hands together before splaying them out before me. How has that changed? You're already aware of the horrors that lurk in a world before knowing they might be supernatural. How many human killers have you helped catch? He blinks a few times, processing my reply before stepping away. We don't get a chance to continue before a new voice enters the fray, but at least it's a much happier one. With the usual cheerful spring to her step, Tina comes bounding over, fluffing out her hair as she tugs it loose from its ponytail. "What's going on?" she asks. Her tone is light, but there's a hint of suspicion in the way she glances over us with half-narrowed eyes.
Nothing.
Verda replies, giving a flash of a tense smile as he brings his tablet up to wave it at us.
I have work to do. Excuse me.
He punches open the doors to the basement and disappears down the stairs. Tina pauses with her fingers still tangled in her hair. "What's up with him?" I don't reply, only staring at the space Verda had just been, my head reeling after the conversation. And what's up with you?" She prods me with a finger, her lips pinched as she waits for a proper reply. Nothing. I shake my head. "Did you know he was back?" "Of course," she says with a beaming smile. "They got back days ago." The smile falters as she notices my badly concealed surprise. Did he not tell you?" Uneasiness has an ache tightening across my shoulders. "No, he didn't." "Well, look," Tina begins after awkward silence pervades the space. "I'm not just here to dazzle you with my presence." Her words help ease the ache. "Oh, no, isn't that your purpose in life?" "I mean, obviously," she replies, flicking her hair out and giving her head a shake as though she were in a shampoo commercial. "But even my winning personality can't help with this bad news." I roll my eyes. "Great. After Verda, bad news is just what I need." She sits on the edge of the nearby desk. "On my way here, I saw the captain and the mayor heading in this direction." "To see me?" The question bursts from me, more strangled than I'd intended. A laugh erupts from her before she nods towards the front desk. "Oh no, I expect they've come all this way to give Doug a promotion." I'm about to groan when the doors to the station burst open and in storm the two men, their faces bright with anger, and a battle of arguments thundering between them. Tina stands and pats me in the arm. "Good luck." I think I'm going to need it. Inside my office. I can barely hear the door click shut behind me as the two men bicker at each other inside of my office. I wind my way around them, their frustrations almost a physical aura as I try to pass, eventually making it to stand behind my desk as a sort of barrier to their fury. As I wait for their barrage to end, I can't help noticing just how opposite they are. The mayor, with his white hair almost bleeding into age-spotted skin and drooping jowls, his love of spectacle and loudness quite evident in the way he flings his arms about as he shouts, versus the captain, with his oil-slick black hair framing his deceptively wrinkle-free angular face. The captain's annoyance is made obvious by the tight set of his mouth and the way his fingers clasp at his lapels. The arguing continues. "You know my type of event will get us far more attention than the bore you're suggesting." The mayor snaps. "Bore? I suppose you would think anything not run by you would be boring." Captain Sung spouts with a roll of his eyes. "Unfortunately, most of the town would disagree." Mayor Friedman blusters, his pale skin turning almost purple with indignation. "What did you just say?" It's probably time to intervene before my office turns into a boxing ring. Hmm. 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 I mean, that is gonna redirect their anger from them each other to me, which could work in progressing this whole thing. Sure. I let out a breath and rubbed my temples. "Look, I have actually got work to do, so if we could get on with whatever reason you're here." The mayor looks at me with a satisfied smile wrinkling his expression. "I'm glad to see you're turning out much differently than your father." It takes me a moment to compose a reply as the shock of such a personal comment puts me in the back foot. Hmm. Shrug away the comment without much care. Comment barely touches me, and the momentary quiet gives Captain Sung a chance to finally detail their reason for being here. The annual blood donation drive is coming up, the captain explains. The mayor tugs at his suit cuffs, which is not the issue. No, it's the way in which it should be held to encourage the most donations that is the problem. Crap. I take a step back and almost end up banging into the wall as thoughts race inside my head. Giving blood is mandatory for all those in senior positions, like I now am, and giving blood may be somewhat of an issue these days. Detective, the captain calls after I've been silent for a while. I blink a few times to clear my head. Right, so you two want different things, I'm guessing? You assume correctly. The mayor twists towards me with a sniff of his nose. We should be making it a town event, something with interest and excitement to draw people in. A carnival, perhaps. Maybe get some stalls erected, make some flyers, spread the word. He stabs a finger into his other palm. Get people in for the fun and they'll be more likely to give. I look at Sung, who is standing tall against the mayor's suggestion. What about you, Captain? We need to keep this methodical and low-key. It will be easier to organize if it's done in an orderly manner without crowds lingering and messing up the structure of things, he says. We won't need to disturb the everyday running of the town, and we'll be able to deal with volunteers faster and more personally. They both stare at me with expectation evident on their faces. Oh, you want me to make the decision? I ask with a hand on my chest. The mayor throws his arms out. Someone better choose, seeing as we can't. No pressure, then. I would actually like... well... suggest flipping a coin. I'm tempted. Fun and... what I'm thinking about now is how could we get out of it? Which I think would be a lot easier with fun and showy to draw lots of people in. Personally, I would much rather go with option 2, but seeing as how us giving blood would not be ideal, you know what? Flip a coin. I really don't want to be the deciding factor here, I admit. The captain raises a dark brow at me. Or someone is going to have to make a decision. So let's make it fair. I reach for the small dish of change I keep on my desk. The few coins jangle and spill over the sides before I eventually manage to dig one out. Here, heads it's the mayor's suggestion and tails it's yours. They glance at each other for a moment before each giving a nod. Seems as good a way to choose as any. The mayor agrees. I let out a breath of relief and then balance the coin on my thumb to flip it up. It tumbles over itself in the air before twisting downwards and landing with a clatter on my desk. We all lean over the top to peer at the outcome. It's tails. The captain takes a step back to appreciate his success. That's settled then. Mayor Friedman tugs off his glasses and rubs at his eyes, trying to calm the red flush that's returned to his face. I suppose it is. I'll begin getting things ready, and of course the station will be on hand to help with that, Captain Sung says with a new energy to his voice. It will? The words tumble from me before I can stop them. I think your captain will need all the help he can get, Detective. The mayor makes to turn away after the statement, probably to avoid the glare Captain Sung is throwing his way. Sung steps up beside the mayor. Maybe next year you'll have more luck. The two finally begin to leave, so I herd them out of the doorway from behind to make sure they don't change their minds and stick around. We make it almost all the way out of my office doorway before Captain Sung halts, lets the mayor walk a few paces ahead and then turns to me. Is something wrong, Captain? I ask. He shakes his head. I just wanted to say you're doing a good job, Detective. Managing the station and working with... He gives a slight shudder as his brows draw together. That agency. It's a lot to manage. He rests a hand on my arm. But you're doing well. It takes a moment to process the compliment. Thank you, sir. And the mayor shouldn't have brought up your father. A wince of regret and pain makes him pause. Rook was a good man. He'd be proud of you. I stare at him blankly until the doors to the station make a noise loud enough to break us out of this strangely personal conversation. Ah, Rebecca, what a wonderful surprise to see you here. The mayor calls across the station the second my mother walks through the doors. The stiff formality she carried in with her is gone in a moment, replaced by a gleaming smile and a sparkle in her eyes. Mayor Friedman, so lovely to see you. The two greet each other with air kisses, and when Amaya tries for more, she skillfully turns away to greet the captain as though she didn't notice his attempt. It's been some time, Captain, she says, leaving the mayor to tug at his jacket and find his composure. Captain Sung holds out a hand to shake hers. It has. His monotone voice makes it hard to tell whether he's pleased about that or not. I've rarely seen the captain and Rebecca together. It seems the two could write a book on ways to interact without actually interacting. What brings you here? Mayor Friedman asks while leaning against the front desk and completely ignoring Douglas. The kid stares at his father with doe eyes before swallowing hard and returning to glare at his phone. I came to see Jules, she explains, gesturing to me as though they wouldn't know who she was referring to. Huh, aren't I popular today? I mumble, trying my best to hide my exhaustion. The mayor deflates at Rebecca's words. Oh, I guess it was just my good fortune that you happened to be here too, Mayor, she continues with a sparkling laugh I've never heard from her before. It's a sing-song laugh with a quality that fills the space around us, and it draws the mayor in like a sailor to a siren. But unfortunately, our business can't wait. She heads past them towards my office with a gentle wave back at them both. Until next time. I will wait eagerly for it, the mayor replies, prompting a shudder and a grimace from both me and Captain Sung. I trail after my mother, keen to get away from the mayor and the captain. Inside of my office, again. I shut the door for the second time that day to a visitor invading my personal workspace, though at least this one's not unwelcome. I peer through the window that looks from my office into the rest of the station, watching the mayor leave. Why do you act like that with him? Hmm? She asks, looking up and following my eyeline. Oh, him. She lays her pale pink coat over the back of the chair, then rests against it. Because part of my job is to ensure we keep a good relationship with those in charge in this town. Keeping in with Mayor Friedman allows us access to many things that might otherwise be denied. uh, hmm. I think he's hoping to get access to a whole lot more. I watch the mayor leave before looking over my shoulder at her. There's the tiniest flicker of discomfort before her stoic mask returns. Yes, and letting him think that might happen grants us a lot of leeway. Oh, I'm sure he's hoping you'll be just as flexible. Now she doesn't hold back the frown. That's tactless, Jules. I move behind my desk with a laugh. You're the one flirting with the mayor to get access, and you're criticizing me? She falls quiet before gripping the chair tighter. Discussing this is not the reason I came. I look at her expectantly, waiting for her to explain why she's added to my list of visitors before I've even had a bolstering cup of tea. She sits in the chair she was standing behind and crosses her legs. I merely came to check on you. Why? Her head dips. Because I care about you. Very much, and you're currently handling more than most people could manage. The station, the agency, your friends, your life. How are you coping with juggling it all? It helps that I'm not alone in it all, I reply. Yes, she says, elongating the word as her focus shifts through the window to where Verda is making his tea. I imagine it's a great comfort. I raise a brow as I follow her eyeline. She couldn't possibly know about Verda. I smile at her. So is that the only reason you're here, to check up on me? She gives a weak smile in return. I'm not here to check up on you, but to check on you. Her hands ring together. I'm trying. I want to be better at this. At this? I ask, leaning back in my chair. At us, she rises, once again moving behind the chair and gripping it tightly as though to help her stand. I've always appreciated that you've made allowances for my life, Jules, more than you know. That you've helped us remain close even with my job. But now I want to be one of the people that helps offer you comfort throughout all of this. It's true that these past few months are probably the most we've seen each other in possibly my whole life. Working for the agency has given me a chance to see more of what she's had to go through, especially seeing as I've had to go through it with her. I've barely had a break myself since getting involved. My thoughts forced me to look over her. Not only have I seen more of her work persona, but more of her. She was always so rigid, so professional, with a wall I could never get past. Now she's become more of a person. She stands behind the chair, her confidence drained and her body slouched. Worry tugs at her features as she looks over me, like, Well, like a mother. Hmm. Hmm. We should just see how it goes, not force anything. She nods, but she doesn't quite manage to hide all of the disappointment behind her steeled expression. Of course, I understand that. It doesn't mean I don't want it, I explain. Just let's see how it goes. The smile she attempts doesn't reach her dulled eyes. Yes, that's a good way to move forwards. She grabs her coat in a weak grasp. Then I'll talk to you later. I nod, offering a small wave as she heads out of my office. Settling farther down into my chair, I put my elbows on my desk and rest my head in my hands. How strange my life has become. An absent mother who now wants to be there, a bounty in my head, a mutation in my blood, a team who are beginning to become like family, and a vampire girlfriend. I sit straighter as I blow out a breath. It's all very different than my life even just a year ago. A quietness seeps around me for the first time in days. I revel in its peace, closing my eyes, resting my head back, and allowing a sleepiness to drag away any remaining heavy thoughts. There's a sharp rat at my door that I try to ignore. The detective isn't here, I call, my voice hoarse as I really let the fatigue grip at my sore body. Well, then I'm just leaving a message for when they get back, Tina says, her footsteps clicking as she enters my office. I ease one eye open to look at her. What's the message? There's been a kidnapping at the edge of town, she explains with a now wholly somber tone. I'm going to head over there now. I stifle my exhausted groan with my hands over my mouth before replying, voice muffled. I'm on my way. Well, there goes that moment of peace. In the woods outside the warehouse. So, is this like fun for them? Farah asks, wincing as Morgan misses another right hook towards Ava's head. The summer sun is already bright, but the trees help disperse the heat into a comforting warmth against her skin. Nat chuckles, leaning back on a fallen log they're using as a bench, before grimacing and rubbing her hands together to get rid of the dirt. Everyone has their own ways of filling their time. I'm surprised you're out here watching. Farah shrugs, pulling her legs up to balance cross legged on top of the log. A few tall blades of grass tickle her toes, her shoes discarded in favor of feeling the lushness of the lawn beneath her feet. You don't normally enjoy when they spar. Morgan lets out a grunt as Ava smacks a solid palm against her side. I don't enjoy the sparring, Nat says, though a smile still sits on her lips, but I do enjoy spending time together like this. Her happiness is almost audible, a chiming aura that fills in the silence the birds have left. They scattered the moment Morgan and Ava started throwing punches. As a family? Nat nods. Exactly. When have we ever had somewhere we can be together like this? And we have the detective to thank for it. I'll be sure to thank them very thoroughly next time they visit. Farah waggles her brows. Nat shakes her head but can't help a small smile. I just hope the detective knows how much we appreciate them. All of us. Farah gestures at Ava and Morgan with a mock gasp. Even them? The team leader is currently beating Morgan, yet again with a headlock. Of course, they're just. Nat's lips twist and pout as she tries out a variety of appropriate words. Boring? Farah suggests, rocking forwards. Stubborn? Annoying? Eager? Nat pushes against Farah's knee, making Farah almost topple off the log. They're not as free with admitting how they feel, or showing it. Nat looks over at the pair, Farah's skin prickling at the sudden sadness that clouds over Nat's as she does. Their lives have made them that way. Farah grips her feet tucked under her and rocks again with a beaming smile, hoping to bring back the happiness from before. I hope us together like this never ends. Nat smiles over at the younger vampire before curling an arm around her shoulders to bring her into a hug. Me either. Ugh. A disgusted groan erupts from Morgan as she marches towards them from the clearing. I'm going back to getting beaten if you're going to subject me to that. I would never dream of it, Nat replies with a whisper of a smile that says otherwise. I just wish Jules was here to enjoy all of this with us, Faraz says, continuing the previous conversation as Ava also makes her way over to join them. Morgan's exhaustion eases into a smirk. I bet you do. I do worry about this bounty, Nat admits, completely ignoring the comment. Don't worry so much. Everyone else in this team had to learn how to deal with this crap. Now it's their turn. Morgan comments, though she doesn't sound overly confident in her statement. Sounds to Farah much more like Morgan just wants to stop the conversation. No matter their capabilities, Ava begins, and Farah gets the distinct impression the team leader wants to add, or lack of capabilities. The detective is a part of our team and won't have to face this alone. I agree, Nat says with a smile while passing Ava a towel so she can cool herself. I just need to make sure they know that. Ava drags her phone out of her pocket. Commanding Agent Dumartin. She turns slightly away as she makes small noises of agreement and understanding. The rest of them wait patiently. Birds begin to flutter back into the canopy above, twittering a pretty tune that they all relax under. There's the faintest fruity aroma on the wind, likely traveling from the gardens of the town. Farah lets her eyes fall shut to really indulge in the moment. With her mind floating away from the group, it unsurprisingly fills with images of Jules. A smile eases onto her lips, which tingle with the prospect of the next time she and Jules meet. Ava eventually ends the call, drawing Farah out of her wonderful reverie. There's been a kidnapping. We have to move out. Next chapter.